You got diamonds buried all up and through you.
My God, I mean, that's exactly what Too Gifted is about. We help people tap into the natural gifts that they have within them, so that they can live a purpose-driven life, so that we can live a life on purpose, a life that we were designed to live, right? Like that is, I feel like God didn't only give me a company that will also help and bring value to me and my family, but it also is able to bring value to the whole world at large. You know.
What's happening, y'all? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now, where we're bringing the village to the brothers. Every couple of weeks, you can look forward to a quick inspirational message or a thought-provoking guest with knowledge and wisdom, all geared towards helping you be the best father that you can be. We're bringing the village to you. Now it's your turn to do something with what you learned. All right, y'all. Let's go.
What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D, Mr. Double Down on You, with another episode of Black Fathers Now. Now, dig this, as I always say, and I say this every week because we bring dynamic brothers to the platform to share their story and share their journey. I got a dynamic brother today that's really going to inspire you, that's going to bring some really dope information, some resources. But the biggest thing is he's going to share himself and his story. And the brother that I have today is none other than Iquell Reina. Now, this brother is a husband. He's a father. He's a musician. He's an author. He's a content creator. But he's also the creator of an organization or business called Too Gifted. And he's based out of NYC. And we're going to really dive into what led to the creation of Too Gifted. But fellas and ladies listening too, because y'all tune in to try to figure out what we talk about and how we think and all of that stuff. Let's welcome my man, Iquell Reina. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing? How's everything?
I can't complain, man. Can't complain, brother. I'm happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for allowing me to be on your platform. This is super, super amazing. I'm super excited. And that introduction, I'm going to save that and use that because that was good. That was a great introduction. So
hey, look, check this out. I ain't create nothing. All I did was just read what you already are. So you know what's interesting as we stop and think about that. A lot of times we don't stop and smell the roses, nor do we give ourselves credit for some of the things that we've accomplished, right? And at times it takes someone basically reading out your bio or reading out your accomplishments or reading out your timeline for you to realize that, man, okay, maybe I am doing the doggone thing. Now, that doesn't give you the ability to say, okay, I'm done, but it's okay to stop and say like, oh, I'm on the right track, or stop and smell the roses every so often. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think that's a point of reference that the brothers listening need to be mindful of.
Yeah. I need my flowers while I smell them. It's a song that one of my favorite artists made, and he basically speaks about that, how like the only time we really pay homage or give acknowledgement to people is when they're dead. And for some reason, it's like super, super hard for people to acknowledge themselves while they're in whatever they're doing. So even like when people ask me questions like, hey, so how would you introduce yourself? I really don't know, because I don't, it was a time where I didn't spend a lot of time taking care of myself or loving myself or acknowledging what I had to do. Being a man, being a Black man at that, and a Black father, you have so many responsibilities that you can't even see the what you're actually doing, because you're so set on being that lion and your family. You're trying to make sure that you are the best you could possibly be. You're not really analyzing yourself along the way. So like sometimes I feel like it's super important that we make sure that we're looking ourselves in the mirror every day, and remembering what we're doing and the accomplishments that we are, having, because it's important. You don't want to go your whole life and not remember all of the great things that you've done, right? Like you want to be able to do that, because I think it's in the acknowledgments and the accomplishments that it will help you to know that you started somewhere, you are now at that place, a better place, and now it makes you look forward to the future and what else you have. It's kind of good to do that, because sometimes we're working so much, it's like, wait a minute, I don't think I'm doing enough. But when you know that you went from point A to point D, you're like, wait a minute, I could get to F. You know, I could keep going. So it's motivational, it's self-motivational. So it's pretty cool.
Dude, I'm gonna throw something, and you said something, and I think it was almost a Freudian slip to an extent, because you said the accomplishments that we are, you paused, having on this, or you said the accomplishments that we are. Pause. Then you kept talking after that about the accomplishments that we are having, or the accomplishments that we are, you know, doing, or what we're part of. But when you said the accomplishments that we are, and it paused there, I was like, wow, I've never thought about it through that lens, that we are the accomplishment.
Wow.
It was interesting. Like, as you were talking, it's like my mind went completely there. So like, we are the accomplishment. I mean, when you stop and you think, you know, from a spiritual perspective, you know, we're created in God's image. So God was perfect. We're imperfect because we're human, but the accomplishment that we are. I think we'll probably jump into that a little bit later, because it's just interesting. As you said that, I was just like,
yeah, that's good. That's some good stuff. I mean, wow. That's some, you know, you talk about, you know, being, oh man, that's good, because it's like, you know, when you say you were created in God's image, like, you know, when God created us, he created us to reign over everything, like all the living creatures, all these different things. Like, he already defined who we are. Like, he defined who we are when we were born. Like that has happened, right? And how often do we really identify who we are? You know, like we have, you know, and I was listening to a few of the podcasts, and I know the podcast before was talking about identity, and just like, as a man finding identity, like we don't know sometimes. We don't know how to find that thing, right? Like we don't know who we are. Right? How could we acknowledge things, or, you know, accept our accomplishments if we don't really know who we are? Like,
that's, you know, and I think, but that's where, again, as we kind of dive into what you're doing, what I'm doing as a personal development coach, that honestly is the gap that you and I are in essence called to fill, to help brothers, to help individuals understand or see, you know, who they are. Maybe it's through a different lens, or maybe it's using various tools that are available for them to really understand who they are. Because as you just mentioned, the accomplishment that we are, it's like the moment that you can recognize that you are an accomplishment, not the things that you do per se, but that you are an accomplishment. It's like that changes the game a whole lot, right? And you mentioned the whole concept of when you can recognize some of the things that you've overcome, or some of the steps that you've, you know, made it to, you know, you're able to build confidence at that moment. And again, in my coaching, I always talk about the concept of courage and confidence is needed in every decision that you make. And the whole concept of confidence, once you have confidence, and once you have a body of work, once you have something that was proven to have been done before, then going forward, when you meet something that's very similar, you don't have to worry about it, because you're like, I got a body of work that proves I can do this, right? And so that's why it's so often important to be reflective, to recognize the accomplishments that you've had, but more importantly, recognize the accomplishment that you are.
Whew, my God. And that tells me we were born for a time like this.
Come on.
We were born here. We were born to do this. We were created to be great, right? We were created to be able to move mountains, and to be able to conquer giants, and all these different things, win battles. Like, we were created for it. And it's super. I love it. I love it, man.
Dude, the accomplishment that you are, brother. That's
the accomplishment that you are.
That's you are. Like, that's we're gonna talk more about that specific thing offline after we get done. But but before we jump into your story and the creation of Too Gifted and all of that, give some shout outs, man. I always like the brothers, before we get into their story, to give a shout out of who are the wind beneath their wings, who are the people, the individuals that basically help you to be who you are.
Mm. Man, so I'm gonna be super transparent on here. I grew up not feeling like I had a lot of support
Mm,
from the people that I wanted to support me. So, when I think about shout outs, I can honestly say that God has sent people my way that has helped me out along the journey, but I didn't respect the people that he sent until I got older, right? And when I was younger, my dad, he was sick. My grandfather, he was, in prison for over a decade, and I never really had like those male presence. That the male presence that I actually did have was shot and killed
mm-hmm.
when I was 8 years old. So
Wow.
there's so many, different people that I always talked about I didn't have. But as far as shout outs, I would have to shout out my mom, because my mom was a single mom. She raised me and my sister on her own, did the best that she could. She is my number one supporter. She is my rock. She knows how to, she understands me to the point where she helps me even when I don't want to be helped.
Mm,
Um, she's an amazing role model for me, and that is somebody who I definitely shout out. And I have pastors and bishops who came in my life at a later time, and elders and different people like that. But she is the shout out for me.
mm,
She's the glue. She's the one who kept me together all these years. And of course, God, right?
mm,
God is the number one, but she's definitely the person that I would shout out when it comes to my upbringing and different things like that. And if I want to shout out somebody currently, I
mm,
would definitely say my wife and my children. They
mm.
are my motivation. They are my inspiration. I can't do it without them. My wife is somebody. I was just talking to God earlier this morning before I got on this podcast, and I said, God, thank you for sending a woman that respects me. I
Mm.
told him, thank you for sending a woman my way that's committed to me and nobody else, right? I told him, thank you for sending a wife who knows how to allow me to be a man, but still knows how to criticize me at the same time, right? Someone who can, I can cry in front of and not feel weak. And someone that I also know wants to be led and I can be strong for at the same time.
Mm.
It's a very really hard balance for certain people. So like I would really shout her out as well, because you talk about he who finds a wife finds a good thing. Like my wife was my wife before she was my girlfriend.
Mm.
My wife was
Woo.
was a wife before as soon as we met, when we were dating, she was already a wife.
Mm.
She already had everything it took to be who God needed her to be for me. So those people are big in my life. And yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you, man. Again, we're gonna jump into your story, but when you drop gems like that, we cannot bypass it, because this can be instructional, inspirational, and motivational for so many brothers that are out there. You mentioned your mother, and well, you mentioned your mom. She helped you when you didn't want to be helped. That was one. But then you mentioned your wife, who allows you to be a man, but also knows how to criticize you when needed. And
Mm-hmm.
then you also mentioned that your wife was your wife before she became your girlfriend. And so it's interesting to think about that. Helps you when you don't want to be helped, allows you to be a man, yet knows how to criticize you when needed. But then she was your wife before she was your girlfriend. And as
My
I
God.
think about the state of society and how we live, especially that last part of she was your wife before she was your girlfriend, that implies that there was something special before you took the steps to make it happen, versus how we tend to operate is we go and make something happen and then hope that there's something special on the back end. Talk to me a little bit about that particular process, mindset, whatever, just in any direction. We didn't plan to talk about this, but dude, when you said that, I was like, we can't bypass this particular opportunity.
I can say that my wife figured herself out before I came along.
Ooh.
She knew what she wanted. She knew what she didn't want. And she knew she already created that wholeness within herself. So when the right opportunity came, or when the right person came, all she had to do was be her, right? And I was also developing that self-love and learning about myself and becoming whole as well. And when we came together, we were both two whole individuals that just added to each other. And that's why I know and I realized that she was my wife before she was my girlfriend, because she already was a wife. She already developed how to be a wife before any man came into her life, because she worked on her before she decided to, just go out there and just choose a man or search for a man.
Dude,
yeah.
I'm gonna throw something, and this is interesting. Again, I don't believe in luck. I think everything in life happens for a reason. Before we got into talking about your shout outs, we came up, or you mentioned the accomplishment that we are, right? So when you are the accomplishment, that means you are whole. That means you are the success. It's not the things that I do. It's like I am the success, right? And then you mentioned that my wife was my wife before she was my girlfriend. And that implies that there was wholeness before I started sharing, right? See, a lot of people try to bring like a third of a pizza to the table and try to share a third of a pizza, right? Whereas what you're showing and the importance of this is that you need to make sure this pizza is fully cooked and is ready to go before you start giving out pieces, right?
My goodness.
Most of us, I'm serious. You think about it. Most of us step to the table and we have 2 pieces of pizza and we give away both pieces, right? And so then it's really nothing left. And then we're trying to bake another pizza as we go and all of that, which again, I know there are circumstances that, that are evident for a lot of different people. But if we focus on recognizing the accomplishment that we are, if we focus on being whole first before sharing ourselves with someone, then when it comes to relationships, we don't go from girlfriend, maybe it works, to maybe becoming a wife. We go from this person is wifey material before she became a girlfriend. Wow. That goes to us as dudes, right? Yeah. We're husbands before we become boyfriends, right? We're husbands due to being whole spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, ready to go. We're whole before we become boyfriends, right? I'm gonna throw something, and I know I'm talking a lot because we got to get into your story. I remember when I was younger, like a teenager, and I wasn't necessarily a bad boy. I mean, I got in a little bit of trouble, but I wasn't a bad boy, right? Like I was, pretty, non getting in trouble type dude. And I remember there was a girl that told me once, she said, Mike, you're the type of dude I want to run into when I'm like 25, 26, 27, when I'm ready to settle down. And I used to get mad at that. I thought about that scene from doggone Love Jones when homeboy was like, no, give me mine now. I want mine now. As a teenager, I'm like, dang, you want the bad boy or whatever. And you want me, you want to catch up with me in the late 20s when it's time to settle down. And I thought to myself how I felt bad in the moment. But now when I look back and I hear your example about your wife from the standpoint of wholeness and being a wife before she was a girlfriend, it made me think that maybe that was not something bad to be looked at as, dude, you're kind of the long-term solution, not the right here, right now. Again, it just made me think about all of this. These are just opportunities for me to share and be transparent too. So
no, that's good. I went the same route. I literally was the guy that the women said, oh, you will be a great future husband. And I grew up, it caused me to be insecure a little bit because I used to think that I wasn't good enough. But in reality, I was good enough. I was actually better than the moment. I was good for the moment and for the future because I was already equipped and put together where they already saw the wholeness. But in their eyes, they thought that wholeness equated to later.
Yeah.
right? Like, and you know, at this point, you got to figure it out. You don't need to be whole. You got to, you know, just dib and dab and have fun and all these different things. But they already saw me as whole. So that's why they was like, well, and they saw you as whole. That's why they said, you know, let me wait to the future because now I got to get whole because this person's already whole. But we don't look at it that way.
No, dude. Can I throw something else? And it's funny again, going down memory lane and really thinking and being reflective on this. I can think that might have been part of the spark that then caused me to try to be the wild boy. That caused me to want to be, you know, the one that in my early 20s, okay, Mike, they call me do something because I'm always out there. I'm the turn up. I'm the one that's going to be, you know, this, like, I mean, and I'm thinking back to it, I wonder if that mindset stuck with me. And I'm just like, man, I don't want to be that dude that don't nobody want until you 30. Man, shoot, I want to be the turn up now. So I might as well start doing some of the stuff they doing. And long story short, that led me down a path like that, in which, you know, I had my wild era. And I wonder if, and I'm basically unpacking this as we speak live. And I've never really thought about this and definitely haven't publicly talked about this. I wonder if that was a seed that was planted that caused me, due to lack of identity at that point, then start going down the wrong path.
My God. That's
it's interesting. Like, if you really, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's
yeah.
But that goes back to what you were talking about, the whole premise of, you know, going through and, you know, analyzing your accomplishments. But we also got to look at some of our challenges too. We have to look at the full scope of everything. Yeah. So enough about that, man. Let's jump into your story, man. Talk to us. And we might have to do a round two because I done wasted a lot of time just going down all these rabbit holes. But
everything happens for a reason, man.
Everything happens for a reason, my brother. So talk to us a little bit about your journey, your story, and basically the genesis of what led to Too Gifted, brother.
Yeah, well, you know, my story is a common story, just like everyone else. Well, everybody wasn't was raised in Brooklyn, but I was raised in Brooklyn, New York, my whole life. Currently, still lives here. I live here, and I had, you know, the regular story, the single mom. And that's not even, you know. See, now you're making me think. I was about to say that I had the regular story of a single mom raising a kid without a dad and all these different things, and it's just like that's my norm.
That's
but
right.
That's not necessarily what normal is. But but anyway, I you know, I had my mom, me and my sister grew up, you know, in poverty and different things like that. I wasn't a bad kid. I wasn't a thug or anything like that. Of course, I definitely made some bad decisions just like everybody else, but for the most part, for me, I was an introverted extrovert my whole life, meaning I knew that I was an extrovert and I liked being around people. I like speaking. I like doing these things. But the insecurities and the things that I had within me that I formed myself made me an introvert. It made me shelter. It made me shy. It made me hide who I really was. We go back to who we are, right? Yes. Like my identity, like all these different things happen. So growing up, I struggled a lot in my mind with me. I speak about the inner me versus enemy. INNER, me versus enemy, which people equate to the devil and different things like that. Well, the devil didn't necessarily bother me too much. It was more me bothering me than he did. What I realized is that what the devil did to me was he planted a seed in my head and he left. And what I did was I watered that seed with doubt and insecurity and fear and all these different things. And then it began to grow. And as I grew up, I grew up wanting and being something that I really wasn't. And that was the struggle for me. The struggle was getting out of my head throughout my whole life, right? Being dark-skinned, hanging out with light-skinned people, feeling like light-skinned people are better than dark-skinned people, or, you know, but just because of society and how, you know, TV shows were presented and different things like that, right? Like I struggled a lot with that. Even having my mom tell me stuff like, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice, and all these great quotes, you know, that helped me still, but some way, reason, I still had this thing in me that I wasn't good enough. So I grew up with that. And you know, it was bad. It caused me to be depressed. It caused me to have anxiety, and all of this stuff was secret. It wasn't you know, when you looked at me, you would think I was the happiest person in the world. I would smile in everybody's faces. I would cover up my jokes with pain, right? I would do all these different things, but inside I was this kid saying, "Oh, you're not good enough. Who are you? You this black, ugly, short kid that no girl probably want again because girls said things like you are my future guy, right? All these things that had happened, it literally caused me to go in there, and that is my issue that I had growing up within myself, and you know, with that, I had a son, right? When I was in my early 20s, 21, had a son, and my son changed my narrative. At this point of my life, you know, I said to myself, I am raising a future man, and I can't raise a future man if I am not dealing with the inner man with me. My son eventually is going to look up to me. He's going to ask me questions. He's going to want to know what confidence looks like. He's going to want to see these things. And if I can't present that to him, I believe that that's a problem. So that encouraged me to begin to work on myself, knowing that he was around, and I knew that I had to be a role model to him. So that sparked my journey of me working on myself and personal development. And as time went on, I also am an artist. So I rap and I sing. So I did different things like that throughout my life. And like I said, I met my wife. You know, we hit it off and different things like that. And throughout the pandemic, just to make it short, I have been working in a 9-to-5 job for the last 14 years. I'm a program manager. I work with youth development, kindergarten through 5th graders. I've been doing that for a long time. And when the pandemic happened, my wife, who works for the city as well, she said there was budget cuts that was happening. At this point, my wife just became an EMT, and you know, they said that they were going to cut the budgets of the EMTs that just arrived first. Then they're gonna get into the youth development field and after school programs and stuff, which I facilitate and work at. And my wife looked at me and she said, if one of us lose our jobs today, we will not be able to make it. At this point, as a man of and a father of 3 children, I said, you're right. We won't be able to make it. Now, of course, we believe in God, we're spiritual, you know, great, all of that. But the natural and the flesh in us, it said, you're right. And then I began to evaluate my life and say, why am I in a position right now where if I lose my job or if my wife loses her job, we will not be able to make it? What have I done wrong my whole life that has positioned me to be in this place right now? I kneeled down, I prayed, I talked to God, and I said, God, you know, what's wrong? Why is this happening? I'm a good person. I live righteous, blah, blah, blah. And what God put in my heart was, you have always been gifted. There is something that I put inside you from birth that you've always had, but you neglected it for all the other things that you was doing in your life.
Wow.
So don't come to me and say, hey, it's a problem that, you know, you guys are not able to, you know, deal with losing a job and all that stuff. Don't come to me with that, because I already gave you a gift that you was supposed to tap into that can help you with financial freedom, and it can help you with all these things. So what do you talking to me for? And that's exactly what I heard. That's what my spirit said. And from that moment on, I said, God, I'm sorry. What do I need to do? He put it in my spirit to create a company called Too Gifted. And that was the story behind, you know, me deciding to do that.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you what's crazy. As you talk and as you just explain this whole concept of, you know, you've always had everything that you needed. You've always had these gifts, and, you know, we all understand the scripture, you know, your gifts will make room for you. I mean, when you stop and you really think about that, it's interesting, but it's funny how it comes back to what you said early on, kind of the Freudian slip, the accomplishment that you are. Like, you are an accomplishment. It's like, dude, and that's like what God was saying. It's like, dude, you're an accomplishment. Like, I gave you everything. I gave you all these gifts, all these talents. And we spend so much time when we have limited identity about who we are, we spend so much time searching for who we are outside, when God just says, dude, look in the doggone mirror, bro. Like there's a I don't know, are you familiar with this with the motivational guy named Earl Nightingale?
No, I've never heard of him.
You never heard of? Okay. Well, he's old school. I think he's from like the 40s or 50s or something. But Earl Nightingale, and he was like kind of the precursor to like the Zig Ziglars and the whatever.
Okay.
He had a story called Acres and Diamonds. Acres and Diamonds. And what was interesting about Acres and Diamonds, and it applies directly to what you're talking about, and I'll just paraphrase it. There was a guy who was mining for diamonds on the continent of Africa. And so he was going all over the place, establishing mines in search of like the biggest diamond ever, right? Like he was just going all over the place, establishing mines, digging all over. And eventually this guy died and his personal property was acquired. And when his personal property was acquired, somebody discovered like the largest diamond on the continent of Africa in history on that property that he already owned. And so it was this whole premise or the concept that we spend so much time digging everywhere else when we need to really focus on digging in our own yard, digging internally. Dude, it's like it's so powerful to really, and that story, when you explain that, that's my mind automatically went to that story, because that's something we struggle with when we don't think that we're enough, when we don't think that we have everything, when we think that, scarcity mindset, or I don't have enough money. I've come to the realization now with conversations with brothers that span the spectrum from venture capitalists and people worth tens of millions of dollars to brothers who just trying to figure out day to day, that we don't have a money issue. Right. And I heard this stated the other day. We don't have a money issue. We have a resourcefulness issue. I think it was a podcast I was listening to. The guy's name is David McCullough. He has I think it's called the Inner Wealth Podcast. But he said, we don't have a money issue. We have a resourcefulness issue. And that's connected to our mindset in regards to not being able to see the opportunities that are available. Right. And so to your point, when we think about ourselves and then we think about identity, if we don't really have a lack, but we really just have a resourcefulness issue, and we don't know where to go internally to find that thing that God's placed there, because we digging for diamonds elsewhere. But dude, you got diamonds buried all up and through you.
My God, I mean, that's exactly what Too Gifted is about. We help people tap into that the natural gifts that they have within them, so that they can live a purpose-driven life, so that we can live a life on purpose, a life that we were designed to live, right? Like that is, I feel like God didn't only give me a company that will also help and bring value to me and my family, but it also is able to bring value to the whole world at large. God, my purpose in life is to create, embrace, and impact, right? So because that's my purpose, I create opportunities and movements and moments for people, and I do everything out of love. And at the end of that, I leave it with an impact, because that's my goal. God also made sure that my company was in alignment with who I am and what I do. Like it just made too much sense. And the first time that I started, I said, okay, God, how am I gonna go and do company? What am I gonna do? So I said, all right, I'm gonna start with a t-shirt line, right? And the reason why I started with a t-shirt line is because I don't know anything about business, but I wanted to learn. So my best teaching is my experience. Like that is how I learn, is by doing that thing. So when I started my t-shirt line under my company, it gave me that confidence, that you talk about, to say, okay, now I can actually have a company and create something that's valuable to people. So now I created a t-shirt line called Too Gifted. And when I created that line, it had these slogans on it: too gifted to be broke, too gifted to settle, too gifted to give up, right? Like these are the different things that I put on the shirt, because I wanted people to not only look good, but I wanted them to feel good. This was a start of people being constantly reminded that there are gifts inside of them. because a lot of times we have, clothes and that we might like, that we might wear, but it doesn't really represent who we are, right? So I wanted to make sure that I did that. And do you know that when people started to wear my shirts, they started to call me and say things like, yo, I'm in an abusive relationship right now, but I put on your shirt and now I'm saying to myself, I'm too gifted to settle, so I got to get out of this thing. I don't have no money in my bank account, but I know that I'm good at cooking or art or this or that. So when I put on your shirt and I walk around, I feel like I'm too gifted to be broke, right? I'm in a situation where all hell is breaking loose in my life, and I feel like I want to just throw in the towel, but every time I put on your shirt now, I'm saying I'm too gifted to give up. Now I'm subconsciously starting a movement where people are looking at the thing that they wear and is empowering them, right? It's making them know that, yo, nah, like, your gift will make room for you, because I have the Proverbs 18:16 on the bottom of the shirt as well. So it's like, yeah, no, like, your gift will make room for you. And that was the start of Too Gifted. What it did for me was it helped my belief system. It helped me build the confidence and courage like you talked about. And it also showed me now that there is another way for me to make it other than working my 9-to-5 job. And that was just the beginning.
Dude, it showed it, it's like, it's interesting when we think about our connection from a spiritual perspective. Is faith, right? So faith, belief in the unseen. But when it comes to day-to-day life, we need some proof.
Yep.
That's just real talk.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? What did it say? Like, my faith is in God, but for everybody else, I need a contract, right? Like, I mean, you gotta put this thing in writing, dot this I, cross this T. We got to get it notarized. Like, real talk. It is what it is. And so, to your point, your story pretty much exemplified that. You had enough faith to listen, but then you had enough courage to act.
And I tell my son all the time, because my son, he has this thing where he gets real fearful about certain things. And I told my son the other day that the medicine of fear is action. I told him, when you act on a thing and when you do a thing, that fear that you think you might have or that's in your head, it slowly goes away. Now, it might not necessarily go away completely, but when you begin to do the action, the fear becomes smaller and the faith becomes higher. And I had to, really, first, I learned that through because working 14 years in a 9-to-5 job and then saying, hey, I want to be a halftime entrepreneur is like, it's fearful. You're like, wait a minute, can this really happen? You have all these questions, but action is the medicine of fear. And after I decided to create the t-shirt line, now the confidence is there. Now I'm telling my wife things like, for example, and I'm not a boastful person, but I made about $700 in 3 days selling shirts. And I told my wife, I said, if you ever ask me that question again about losing our jobs and not being able to have it, I'm showing you right now. Oh, wow. I'm looking out the window and somebody has my shirt on.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Wow. That's crazy.
Oh, man.
See, look, again, this stuff happens for a reason. We didn't plan this. Again, if you're listening to the audio, I'm watching him and he's like, wow. As I talk, he's looking out his window. Somebody's wearing his shirt.
Wow.
Crazy.
No, I'm sorry. That's wow. That's big.
But you know what though? Again, see, hold on. See, we're gonna stop on that, because that is that nudge to say that, brother, you're on the right track.
Yeah. Oh man.
You see what I'm saying?
Man, if I wasn't on this podcast, you would have saw tears roll down my eyes, because that's amazing. Like I'm shocked. But threw me off. But yeah, so like I was saying,
no, you said from the standpoint of your wife, like if she ever mentioned again about losing the job.
Yeah. I told her, I said, look, this is how we're gonna do it. God is showing me that there's other ways that we can, make money other than having our 9-to-5 jobs. And I told her from that moment on, I said, I'm creating an exit strategy so that I can transition out of my 9-to-5 and I can become a full-time entrepreneur. And my wife said, I trust you. I support you, but I'm scared. And, I just want to make sure, something my wife told me. She said, the reason why she trusts me is because of my commitment to God. Because she sees me kneel down and pray and commit to God every single day. She told me that makes her trust me even more because of how much I submit to him.
You know, dude, I'm gonna throw something there because, you know, when we think about the concept of love, right? When you define love, you know, love is an action. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a commitment. It's not some infatuation, butterflies in your stomach and woo, oh, I feel it ain't that. It's the commitment. And what she basically just exemplified to you is your example of that commitment is what gives her the confidence to say that, all right, I can rock with this dude because he's committed and he's consistent.
So at this point, and that's what she told me when I told her about the, you know, I'm going to start transitioning. So now at this point, okay, we have the apparel line going on, Too Gifted, things is looking good, you know, and my family and friends, people are buying it, different things like that. And now it was January 15th. It was January 15th. God placed on my heart and said, okay, you got this apparel line going on. I need you now to write a book. I said, wait a minute. Hold up. I'm the kid that was in English class that barely passed. I'm the kid who barely could pronounce my words properly. I'm the kid who had a very hard time spelling words that other people would think is easy. And now you're telling me that you're encouraging me to be an author, right? I said, you must be crazy. I'm not gonna do that. And kept pulling and tugging. Now I'm just starting my apparel line and I'm just figuring this thing out. Pulling me. I said, okay, God, I'm gonna do this, right? I'm gonna write this book. And that was a whole nother level. God showed me that in my company, I don't only want you to provide and give people a constant reminder of people looking good and feeling good through apparel, but now I need you to be able to teach people so that they can have something tangible that they can pick up and read and apply to their lives. I realized that knowledge is amazing, but applied knowledge is better. When you're able to actually apply that thing to your life, that's when things change. So he had to put that in my heart to say, okay, you got the apparel thing. Great. Now let's move on to the bigger thing. How are we going to change the world now? How are we going to impact the world at large? And then I created a book called Too Gifted. And again, everything is in alignment, right? God is showing me that you can create a foundation, and throughout that foundation, it can have so many different branches. Now they call it streams, but I call it branches, right? God allowed me to come up with that idea of Too Gifted. He put that in my heart. Then he gave me a t-shirt line. Now he's giving me a book. God is slowly showing me how to exit out of my 9-to-5 job and actually build an organization and not just a little small thing. And he's giving me that confidence in it and allowing me and telling me to be patient. So when I now had to write a book, I go to my wife and I say, babe, God is saying book. She said, man, you crazy. And God crazy too. Oh, y'all crazy. And I don't know, but we're going to figure this thing out. Don't have nobody in my family who wrote a book. Don't know nobody around me who wrote a book. I said, all right, we're going to get this thing done. We're going to do it. Every single day, I started off by writing one paragraph a day. One paragraph a day. And then I eventually started feeling myself a little bit. Once I realized I could do a paragraph, I said, let me do 3. Let me do 4. Oh, shoot. Let me go on Google University and see what does it take to write a book? How much words do I need? Oh, you need 1,000 words? How can I do 1,000 words? Oh, I just could type it up on my Microsoft and I can see when it goes up to 1,000. I know that's a chapter. Oh, now it's on, right? Slowly just started doing it, got into the hang of things. And by March 15th, my book was finished. Some people take 3, 4, 5, 6 years to create a book. God put that thing in my heart, and in 2 months it was done. And in April it was published, official. That was it. And God showed me that all of the gifts that he has given me from day one, all I had to do was activate that thing within me, and everything else it just falls into place. Oh, writing a book, oh, easy. Oh, doing an apparel, oh, easy. It's in alignment with my purpose. When we talk about identity, when we talk about, you know, finding yourself and your accomplishment of who you are and all these different things like that, once we figure that thing out and understand who we are and what we possess, everything else is easy. Now, life is hard. It does get challenging, but everything else is smooth sailing. And God is just showing me that every single day. He just put another thing in my heart. He said, okay, let me challenge you a little bit more. You got a book. Now I want you to create a curriculum for that book. And I want you to start pushing that into schools, because in your community, there's a whole bunch of Black people and Black kids who need to hear about social emotional learning, who need to learn how to self-love and have this identity thing. Now I need you to create a curriculum and push this thing into school. I went to a school last week. I said, how much would this service be? How much you pay for this service? They told me $5,000. I almost fell out on the floor. God has shown me now with 3 branches, 3 streams of income that I could already replace my 9-to-5 job. And it all happened because I tapped in to the gift that was already inside of me. I tell people that a gift is something that God plants inside of us, and it's up to us to water it. I realized in my life that I used to water, like I said before, the enemy, the devil, he planted a whole bunch of negative things in my mind, and I watered that thing, and that's why for a long time I was lost. But now I'm able to literally tap into that seed of the gifting that God has given me, and now I can water that. What am I watering it with? Confidence, courage, belief, you know, saying things, speaking life and not death, right? Now that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it every day. And when we get to the podcast and Black fathers, you talk about being a father. I have 2 boys and 1 girl. So now not only am I being an example for me, but I'm being an example for them. Now they're sitting there and they're like, whoa, my dad wrote a book. Whoa, my dad did this. Whoa, my dad did that. Now I'm leaving a legacy for y'all. And now I'm in a place where it's like, hey, look, you guys are going to take over this business now. So now I'm showing them how to do things. They package in the books. They the ones putting the stickers on there. They're looking at the shipping. They're going out with me, presenting my shirts and my books to other people. Now they're part of it. And as a father, as a Black father now, I'm leaving generational blessings for not only them, but their children's children. Come on. God is setting all of this stuff up just because I said yes. All I did was say yes. And once I said yes, everything else came in. And that is super, super important. You have to be able to say yes to yourself. You have to say yes to that person that's within you. You have to say yes to that power that you have. You have to say yes to your creativity. You have to say yes to the gifts that's inside of you. Once you say yes to that thing, and saying yes is attached with believing it. Yes. Once you say yes and you believe that that thing is going to work, it is going to work. And you will never, ever have to compare yourself to anybody else, because what's for you is for you. And we were all created in a uniqueness that will allow all of us to win the however way we want to win. And that's, so that's too gifted. That's too gifted, right? And that's what we do, right? And I'm a living example. I am that. I am living it right now. I'm currently working my 9-to-5 and I'm transitioning out. I don't know certain things still. I don't know how to ship out certain things internationally. I don't know how to get my book into Barnes and Nobles and stuff. I don't know all of this stuff yet, but I don't care. I know it can happen. I know it will happen. And I know that I will figure out the way. It's just, that's it. I'm going to keep doing the action, and I'm going to keep messing up and then falling and getting back up again and doing it all over again. And I'm going to show my family and everybody around me this process. I want people to understand that I'm going through. I don't have it all together. I'm not a millionaire yet. I'm still out here counting, looking at the receipt before when I go to the restaurant, or when they tell me how much the bill costs, I'm checking my Chase account. I'm still there. I'm not perfect, but I have purpose. And that's what we have to understand. We are not perfect, but we all have purpose. There is a gift aligned with all of us. I don't care if you are good at saying hi to people. That could be a gift. My wife told me, she said, babe, I don't really feel like I'm good at anything. I said, well, how about you like solving problems all the time? Maybe that's your gift. right? Every time I'm hungry, you want to make sure I eat. When the kid's homework is not done, you do that. When your friends is stressed out, you figure out a way to solve that issue. Everybody doesn't have that mentality. That is a gift right there, that you're a problem solver. I teach people that a gift is not only basketball, football, soccer, singing, rapping. A gift is attached to, you can be skillful in so many different things. And that's what God had to also show me. Like, no, like you could be gifted at listening. Mm-hmm. Like there are people who can listen really well. Absolutely. And sometimes that's all you really need, right? Mm-hmm. So tapping in, you know, for anybody who's listening, I don't want people to think, oh, I don't have a gift because I'm not this or I'm not that. Everybody has it. You just have to figure out what that thing is. And 9 times out of 10, it is what you've been doing your whole life.
but you got to be willing. You got to be willing. You got to be open. You got to be obedient when that thing comes to you, because that's another part to it. Is like a lot of times we bypass things. It's like you're in the house and you walk by the same thing every day. You walk by this picture every day, only to realize that picture that you got on the wall is worth millions of dollars.
My God.
You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like that to me for a lot of us when it comes to our gifts, our talents, our skills. And I think there's a difference between a natural gifting and a skill. A skill is something that you learn. A gift is something that you have naturally. There's some people who just got it. They're like, you're 6'8". Okay, bet. That's a gift. Like, I'm not 6'8". I mean, that's over a foot over me. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But then you have some people who have developed skills by repetition, by learning, by doing something over and over. And they've gotten to a point in which they are an expert, or they're one of the world's best at something due to the time, the effort, the intention that they've placed in that particular thing. And so what you have may be something that's natural. It may be something that you've had to learn through trial and error, through failure, through success, through whatever. And all of a sudden now you're sitting, you know, at the top of a mountain and you're able to impact a lot of people. Don't get so caught up into how it got here, right? Just be open to discovering it. Again, for most of us, like you mentioned, the gift could be something. I mean, literally, we walk down our hall every day and there's a picture on the wall that we've never really paid attention to. And that picture on the wall is your gateway to the life that you're supposed to live. That's the gateway to your purpose. But you got to have your eyes open and be looking for that thing that's already there in your midst. So fellas listening right now, the biggest thing that I would like for you all to pull away from this dialogue and this conversation is to really do that deep dive in the mirror. What is that thing that you have inside of you? What is that? And you might be overlooking it, right? It might be that thing that you just say, this ain't worth nothing. It's like, whoa, hold up. Let's explore that again, because your unique gift is your unique gift. What's special for you is special for you. And that's what Iquell is trying to let you brothers know, right? What's special for you is special for you. Don't bypass that. There's a doggone Van Gogh hanging on the wall in your hallway, and you just never looked at it before.
My God, and that's super, super true. And we talk about that in the book. We talk about discovering your gift. We talk about developing your gift and uncovering your gift. Like those are the 3 things that we really narrow down to. And then we also talk about learned behaviors. We talk about those things that you learned along the way that might have either made you better or bitter. Like, you know, we talk about that, and we get real deep into it, because, you know, when you're reading the book, you'll get an understanding from point A to point B exactly how you can intentionally work and figure that thing out, figure that gift out. Like, you know, we get into details with it, and it's definitely something that I believe everyone should have, because we all have a gift and it's all inside of us. And we all have to be able to tap in and activate it. And we talk about self-identity, right? We talk about so many different things. And I love it.
Check this out. Don't give the whole book right now. Where can folks? For real, because you basically laying it all out. Let like the brothers listening and the sisters listening too, let everybody know, where can they grab the book? Where can they grab apparel? Where can they connect with you? Man, lay out like your contact info, brother.
So the book website is Too Gifted, Too-Gifted. So it's TOO-gifted.com. You will get a sneak preview of each chapter. You will get my story and the reason why I created the book. A lot of things that I spoke about here, you'll get that. And you'll be able to get it online. And, you know, depending on when you order it, I have like personalized signed copies that I give out. You know, maybe we could work something out where, you know, if they get it through you, I could personally sign it, or they could get a discount or something, you know, something like that. Maybe we could work something out. And if you want to get my apparel now, you can go to twogiftednyc.com. And that's the number 2, twogiftednyc.com. You'll find all the apparel. The apparel that I actually have currently right now is a cultural apparel line where we basically created an African Two Gifted print sign, just to represent our culture and what you know, who we are. And in the back of the shirt, it says "The treasure lies within." And that just basically, you know, self-explanatory. That's what we've been talking about. Everything that we have is already inside of us. So it's another way where people could be constantly reminded of the power they have within. And my Instagram is IQ Music, which is IQUE MUSIQ. And on there, you'll get a whole bunch of motivation, inspiration. I have a series out right now called Mirror, where I'm talking to myself every single day in the mirror. This was something that I actually did before the cameras was on, just to help me deal with that person in the mirror. And that's super hard for a lot of people to deal with themselves. So what I did in my series is I began to speak life into myself through my mirror. And, you know, a lot of people are telling me that they really enjoyed that. So that's something that you can get on my Instagram. Is very, very motivational. And I'm just a helping hand. I'm a servant, man. That is who I am. I'm a servant. I am here to help people and to be whoever God needs me to be in their lives. Like that's me. So, you know,
I love it. I love it, brother. And so fellas and ladies listening to literally TOO-gifted.com to grab a copy of the book. You can also visit twogiftednyc.com for apparel. And that's the number 2giftednyc.com for apparel. And if you're on IG, make sure to check out IQ Music. IQUEMUSIQ Music. And you can connect with Iquell Reina, because the brother, as you can tell, man, the brother's gifted himself, and he helped us to realize that the accomplishment that we are is extremely important. Not the accomplishments that we have, not the accomplishments that we made or the things that we've whatever, but the accomplishment that we are is enough. And once we recognize that, we can go deep and pull out all those gems and do that deep dive to understand that we've been gifted with everything that we need to live the life that we are supposed to live. Now, the life you're supposed to live ain't gonna necessarily be the life of the next man, because guess what? The next man has his own life. But the life you're supposed to live, you got everything needed and or necessary. You just got to be obedient. You got to listen. And like Iquell mentioned, you got to take action. So, brother, your story is powerful. It's amazing. And I really cannot wait. I mean, you and I are connected, so we're going to stay linked up, but I can't wait to see the impact that you're going to make in the world, man. So I just, want to encourage you to continue going as a husband, as a father, as a leader, as a musician, as an artist, as an entrepreneur, as a, just like this multi-hyphenate brother who is not about you. It's about what's flowing through you. And you're open to just taking the cap off of that bad boy and letting it flow. So keep doing that, man, because you're impacting the world.
Amen. Thank you for this opportunity. Man, I'm still on the introduction you gave me in my head and the people that was walking by. So I truly appreciate you. And I know we're already connected. I'm so happy that I met you, that we spoke. You are an inspiration. I just met you not too long ago, and you have already told me things that inspired me. So I truly appreciate you for giving me this opportunity. And I always pray that God, blesses you and your family with more than enough. And that you continue to thrive in who you are and accomplishments that you are. And I thank you for that. So appreciate you.
Man, thank you, brother. And I'm gonna add one more thing to that because it was interesting just today. I mean, at the recording of this, just today, I was listening to a conversation and I posted it like I think on Facebook, but it was the whole question of, are you called to be the genius or the genius maker? Right? Are you called to be the genius or the genius maker? And on a personal level, and it's funny, I've used this before as well. I feel like I'm a little more Maverick Carter than I am LeBron, right? I'm a little more Phil Jackson than I am Jordan or Kobe. And when I think about that, I believe my calling is to help to push, to hone, to enhance those that are geniuses and be more of the genius maker than I am supposed to be that one that's out front. And it's taken a while to get there. There are areas in which I am out front, but to your point, when you said, you pray that, God continues to pour in and allow me to do what I'm supposed to do, this whole thing is evolving. And I'm really stepping into the understanding that I'm supposed to help to enhance, to blow up, to grow the geniuses that are out there. And that's my calling. And so, so yeah, man, so I receive everything you gave, man. And
wow,
we're going to keep this thing moving, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, y'all make sure to follow my man Iquell Reina on IG, IQ Music. His link is in the bio. Also visit 2-gifted.com for his book, or you can visit 2giftednyc.com for some apparel. All of that will be in the show notes. And as always, make sure to follow Black Fathers Now podcast, all your social media outlets, IG, Facebook, whatever. Make sure to leave a rating. Make sure to share this episode out. This is going to help somebody. This is really going to help somebody. That individual, specifically that brother who feels stuck, who doesn't think they are gifted, doesn't think that they have something to offer the world. You might need to hear this one on repeat, because Iquell that inspired you to look in the mirror, do that deep dive, but then also be obedient and take action. So fellas, ladies listening to, until next time, y'all be blessed, well, and wise, and I'll holler at you. Peace.
Yo, fellas, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And always, always, always visit blackfathersnow.com, as well as follow Black Fathers Now on virtually every social media platform you can think of. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just follow us and engage with us, man. Look forward to hearing from you. And I guess until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace.